Mm. All right, guys, welcome. Let's go ahead and get ready. Go ahead and put your stuff away. Go ahead and get out your sheet of paper to go ahead and do the star notes. Remember, we're doing our Cornell notes. Just a quick reminder, fold your sheet in half. Right-hand side, we're going to go ahead and write down our notes. After class, we're going to go ahead and highlight and go through our notes and reread them. We're going to go ahead and come up with any questions. We're going to write those questions on the left-hand side of the paper. We're going to go ahead and go through the book, go ahead and try and answer them. And then at the end, we're going to go ahead and write a reflection about two to three sentences. Nothing big. And then what are we going to do? That's right. We'll go over it the next day in class. All right. So right now, while you're getting set up, let me go ahead and tell you the story for the day, because you know that's what we do. So I was in the grocery store the other day, going down the vegetable aisle, and I'm looking at all these pretty ears of corn. I'm looking at the red bell peppers, the green bell peppers, the yellow bell peppers, and then it made me think, I'm like, oh my gosh, these are what they call cash crops. And to you, all that simply means is that they're grown so that way there's enough for us to go ahead and get. So these companies are making all of these, and they all come from the same parent gene, and they're duplicated. And that way they all look the same, so they all look pretty, so you want to buy it. Now, what that comes down to is, back in 1930, way even before 1930, but 1930 is when it affected us here in America in regards to what's called the tobacco mosaic virus. Now that tobacco mosaic virus, it took a big hit. So what it did was, it was a virus that affected the plant, which meant that you couldn't harvest it. You couldn't bring it up. And what we noticed with it, as it's named a virus, is that it only attacked the tobacco plant. It didn't affect any of the other crops. So whether it be corn, wheat, flour, any of that, it just passed over. And this is because it all came from the same parent gene. So just keep that in mind as we go ahead and go into today's lesson. So right now, we're going to go ahead and talk about types of reproduction. And with types of reproduction, do you know how many there are? Okay, that's right, from a previous lecture, there's two. So remember, the two is the sexual and the asexual. So we're just going to go ahead and go over a couple points today in regards to the sexual and the asexual, and we're going to go ahead and we'll wrap it up with a couple activities today. All right. So when we talk about sexual and asexual, do y'all know what asexual is? Asexual just means one. So that means this thing right here, this parent, we're going to call it a parent, it's one, has a kid all by itself. And that kid is called an offspring. And that offspring is a duplicate of the parent. All right. Now, if the asexual, which is just one parent, gives the offspring is a complete duplicate of it, then for the sexual requires two parents. And when they have the two parents give 50% of themselves to the one offspring. So we're going to go ahead and put the offspring has 50% genetics, or I'm sorry, I apologize, genes of each parent. Okay, so that means one parent, says, hey, I'm here, I'm gonna have another one. The sexual says, hey, you, wanna have a kid with me? We get together, I give 50% of my genes, they give 50% of their genes, and then we come up with one offspring. All right. Next, we're going to go ahead and go with, now, as we gave the genes, so remember that genes are a form of chromosome. Guess what? Out of those chromosomes, we're going to go ahead and each parent shares 50% of its chromosomes for this one. So if this one, each parent shares 50% chromosomes, then for the asexual, since it's only one parent, then how many will they have? If this is 50 from 2 and 2, one parent gives 50%, the other one gives 50% of their chromosomes, how many will this one be? That's right, this one should be 100 because they're duplicating themselves. So it's going to be 100% chromosomes from one parent. All right, so now on that part, we've now talked about, 2 here, 1 over there. We're talking about 1 parent, 2. And you know what? I apologize, guys. I forgot. Let's put it this way. Got 1 parent, 2 parents, and then they equal to 1 little, and then they equal to 1 little person, 1 little offspring. This one over here, you got 1, and guess what? It just leads to 1. All right. So now with that, as we just mentioned about chromosomes, so just a reminder that our genes, from the genes of the parents, they are in the chromosomes, and then remember our chromosomes are a book of directions. So pretty much it just tells everyone what to do. It forms the offspring. It's what they call, the genes are chapters in the book. So the chromosomes are giving you the directions of like, hey, this gene needs to go here, this gene needs to go there to create a healthy offspring. All right. Now our last point of the day for this one, we're going to go ahead and say that for the sexual, it says all organisms in the family are similar but do not have the same genetics. And what that means, and then give me a moment. So all organisms in family are similar, but do not have the same genetics. So they're different, right? Because they're 50 from this parent, 50 from this parent, and it creates a different child, a different offspring, right? Okay, so with our asexual being the one, that one is duplicating itself. So that means for them, it's going to be the genes, I'm sorry, the organisms have a low genetic difference. I so did. Okay. Now, as we were talking about the story, when I told you I was going through the grocery store and, I mentioned I saw the vegetables and how they all look the same. Well, with the vegetables and they all look the same, it's because they're created asexually. So at that point in time, it's repeating itself and repeating itself so that way they all look similar, and there's going to be very, if anything, a low genetic difference. When we talk about sexual, which is the two different parents, and they create, there's always a variation. There's a difference because it's genes from this parent, genes from this parent, and they came down to combine, so 50 and 50. And at that point in time, it creates something similar but different. Now, with that, another story that comes to, as we're talking about reproducing ourselves, and unfortunately the tobacco in 1930, that nice tobacco mosaic virus, and I mentioned the word virus because as we know in the news right now, we're talking about COVID-19. This virus took out the cash crop, the money maker for the tobacco. Do any of you guys know or believe, we're not even gonna say what know or believe. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna help you out. Do you think that if there was another virus right now, say COVID-19, it would affect this, which is the genetics of two separate people coming together? Or do you believe it would affect one person? So it would reflect the asexual. And you know what? I apologize. That's not a good example for you guys. So I had a story of a friend, and there are 5 of them. So 2 parents, 3 offspring, and out of them, they got the virus. The virus took the life of the father, leaving 4 of them. Now, the mother, or one of the parents, and the 3 offspring had 50% of the genes from the mother and 50% from the father. Now, to tie this up with our lecture of types of reproduction and viruses, if we duplicated ourselves completely, like the asexual, the virus would wipe us all out, like the tobacco mosaic. With sexual, with the 2, it may affect half because of the genetic makeup of the 2, but you will have a larger chance of surviving. So, what we're going to have you do right now, I'm going to have you go ahead and break off in sections. I'm going to go ahead and give you 5 minutes. I want you to go ahead and do your group work, where we're going to go ahead and create a module based on the sexual and the asexual. And I want you all to do it in groups of 4. Your standard 4 is set up. And then we're going to go ahead and see you guys in about 5 minutes. And then I might have you guys go ahead and we'll go over the next step where we create one as a group. All right? Any other questions? All right. All right, guys, let's go ahead and break up.